friends. So a lot of you have been asking me about face masks, and today's tutorial is about how to make an actual face mask. Stay tuned.
So I started off with this bag of elastic from Amazon, which cost me about, $6 for 25 yards that I cut into 6-inch pieces and put in this cute little reusable Ziploc bag. But yeah, each one of those pieces made up to 30 masks with the 25 yards. And then I cut my fabric to 15 by 6.5 inches as you see here. And then I folded it in half because we're going to do a little bit of trimming on the edges to get rid of all that excess fabric on the sides. So I used a ruler and a pencil. I drew some very light lines. You could also use chalk as well. And then I used that to cut off the excess fabric. And of course this is very soothing to watch, so I hope you're enjoying this right now as much as I am. And here I am just trimming some edges off the fabric, making sure it's all nice and neat. Now we're going to go to the machine. You're going to use the two corners furthest away from that fold that you see at the bottom. And we're going to slip in one piece of our elastic. Again, these are 6 inches each. We're going to hold that in place with our thumb. And then you're going to do one long stitch as I sort of showed you there. So started up the machine and now we're just stitching all the way towards the end. You're going to pause, do a complete rotate, and then you're going to make sure that your elastic is in there all nice and snug. And then you're going to do one long stitch, and then of course a reverse stitch to make sure that you hold it in place, and that's your first corner down. So now we're just going to do one long straight stitch to the next corner. You're going to grab a second piece of elastic, make sure that's nice and cozy in place. And then you're going to stitch right over it, and then one more reverse stitch. Now we're going to do another rotate, make sure it's nice and straight. You're going to make sure your elastic is not in the way before you stitch over it, which I have done many times. And then again, you're going to do one long stitch all the way, and before you reach the corner, you're going to want to grab the other end of that piece of elastic you just put in. Here I'm kind of struggling because I didn't give myself enough room, and then you're going to hold that in place, stitch all the way down, rotate, make sure your elastic is nice and snug in place, and then you're going to stitch right over soon. And then you're going to do a reverse stitch to make sure you hold it in place. Now we're going to do one long stitch again to the other corner, and you're going to grab the other end of your elastic, the first one that we put in, hold it down towards the edge, make sure it's nice and snug. Then you're going to do one stitch over and of course one stitch back to make sure you hold it in place. We're going to rotate again, and now this time instead of doing a stitch all the way across, we're going to do it just a couple inches in to leave an opening, as you'll see here. So I stopped right about there, took the mask out, cut the edges, and now on a flat surface I'm just going to trim some of that excess thread off just to keep it nice and neat. And then I'm going to use that opening from the mask and turn it inside out, or I guess right side out since that's the side that we'll be using. And then I used a pencil to prop out some of the edges because you know that all gets folded in during the process. Whoops. Alright, so now that that's all done, of course we will get back to that opening in just a bit, but for now we want to iron the mask to make sure it's nice and crisp and straight. Now usually videos show that you need a ruler and you need to sort of measure the pleats before you do them, but that's work and I didn't want to do that much work, so I eyeballed them, and here I am making the first pleat that I'm ironing down, and then I'm making the second pleat that you see right here, and then also ironing that down again. One thing that you want to make sure you try not to do is get the iron on the elastic like I just did there, because that'll wear out the elastic. So now we're just ironing it down, we're turning it over to the other side. You'll see the pleats are sort of not equal lengths, but that's fine. That's how you'll know which side touches your face and which side doesn't. So now we're going to stitch the pleats down with one long stitch. And of course we're going to use our reverse stitch to hold it all in place. You know, you don't want your machine washable mask to unravel. And here we are again on the other side, just holding it down, making sure the pleats are in place. Try not to stitch your finger off. Go all the way to the edge, then one reverse stitch to hold it in place. Then you're going to snip off all of those extra pieces of thread, and there it is. There's your mask. Wasn't that easy?
I hope you guys enjoyed this little tutorial. Let me know what you think in the comments.